Hey. Welcome back into the JumpStart Sports Show. I am one of your other hosts, Steven Shoemaker. Jay had an earlier episode for us today, earlier this fine Thursday AM morning. But, sometimes you just forget to set your alarm clock and you oversleep. It happens to the best of us. We're hardworking men out here in corporate America, hardworking men and women. Everyone is working very hard, but I'm gonna hop on here and do a mock draft from my perspective because it's nice to get multiple different perspectives from people because fantasy football season is upon us. Some people have already done their drafts. Some people just like getting it over with, and some people like waiting until after preseason's over, after training camp's over, because of injuries. Obviously, unfortunately injuries happen. As you saw, like Tim Patrick, for example, wide receiver for the Broncos, suffered a season-ending ACL tear in practice. So I've always liked waiting till the week of that first Thursday game. We have the Rams and the Bills coming up. I always like waiting just for injury's sake. Um, my league, we're doing our draft next weekend. Actually, I think this is the seventh year we're doing our annual draft with some of my college buddies, and it's just fun. I've always preferred doing redrafts because when you do a redraft league, it's like having a new baby or a new family. I don't know if that was the best analogy, but it's just like having a new baby into your life. You're taking care of a new baby. It's a whole new team you need to put together. Big responsibility. A lot of people think, fantasy football is a joke. It's in the name, fantasy. It's not real, but to me, it is. It's like a team. You take care of them, and that's all I have to play for, man. So this league I've had with my friends for the past 7 years, I've won the league 3 times, and then the other 3 years I came in like last or something pretty bad. So it's kind of like a domino of like on off for me. So hopefully this is my on year because last year I didn't do too well. Just kind of running through what I did last year. I remember I had the 6th pick and I took Devontae Adams, which was a great pick for me. He played really well for the Packers. I always like going running back first. In the PPR league I'm in, I've always valued running backs. I think running backs can get you more points because they get you the rushing yards, but also they get you the receptions as well. A lot of running backs like Austin Eckler, for example, and even Christian McCaffrey. One of the reasons, other than his excuse me, other than his injuries he's had, he's done so well in PPR leagues because they just utilize him as the check down back, and then he also just dominates when he gets all those touches. So I went with Jonathan Taylor with my 2nd pick, and he was a late 2nd round pick, and now he's going to be the 1st pick in probably almost all leagues. So it's just funny how players can just switch it up just like that. I think JT will have a great year. Just a great offensive line, a new quarterback, and Matt Ryan, very seasoned, very experienced. So it's hard to pass on McCaffrey, but I think you just can't go wrong. I always feel like you got to take the safe picks. You got to stick with your gut. So I just think there's nothing wrong with taking Jonathan Taylor with your 1st pick. I don't really know who you'd look at. It's either him or McCaffrey, I feel like, and McCaffrey could be great with Baker this year, or if it's Sam Darnold, if he ends up getting traded or not, we'll have to wait and see. But McCaffrey, you're just kind of running that risk. And that's the thing with the 1st round pick is you want to make sure whoever you're taking in your 1st round, that's kind of like your captain. That's the player you're building your team around. And usually I prefer running backs. If there's a wide receiver, there's so many wide receivers. This has been the first time I think in maybe 3 or 4 years where the first 6 picks are dominated by wide receivers. The last time that happened was Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas being in the 1st round, where this year most mock drafts that you do, you see it's Cooper Kupp going 2nd or 3rd because of what he did last year. And then you have some of the younger studs who are great picks like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. As good as they are, I just don't know if I trust taking a wide receiver in the first round. Last year, I took Devontae Adams, but that's because the first 5 picks, I think, were running backs. And I could have taken like Aaron Jones or Nick Chubb, but in that type of situation, it's hard to pass on Devontae Adams. But here we go. Let me cue this puppy up. Jason did his mock draft. I'm going to do mine. We'll see who has the better one. It's kind of up to our viewers what you guys think. At the end of the day, I say you just have to stick with your gut feeling. You can obviously take our advice. Jason and I are some savvy vets when it comes to the fantasy world. You can take some of our opinions. So I'll do the same thing he did with the Fantasy Pros. We have our PPR league, snake draft, 10 teams. My draft position. Let's bring Alexa into this. This is my sweetheart over here, Alexa. Alexa, give me a number between 1 and 10. Would you, sweetheart?
7.
7. Shit, she sucks. All right, 7th pick, and here we go. As the Joker once said. Miller Lite. Could use me a good Miller Lite. And we're off to the races. So look at our draft board. JT goes 1. As I said, McCaffrey goes 2. Eckler going 3 is very interesting because I think that's a good pick. It seems like it could be a little bit risky, but Eckler's their guy. I think the Chargers are going to be great this year. I think they're going to be the team to beat. Last year, you were looking at the Chiefs. You were looking at the Bengals. I don't sleep on the Chargers this year. I could very easily see them going to the AFC Championship game this year. And then they go Cooper Kupp, which is expected. Derrick Henry, who's been falling. And I think that's just because maybe a combination of the unfortunate injury he had last year and also the fact that the Titans just – I don't think they're going to be as good this year. They're a pretty different team this year. Losing A.J. Brown was big for them. But, we'll just have to wait and see. Dalvin at 6, I think is respectable. Dalvin's been falling in some leagues probably even to the second round, which is crazy because he was a top 5 pick last year. But it's just with his injuries and the combination of Alexander Madison and how that's a good bench player to have. But Dalvin's going to get, fed the ball this year. He's got a new number 4. Minnesota is just like a hungry team that's hungry to make the playoffs this year. Kirk Cousins got 1 more year. I think it's kind of like a make or break year for him. So they need Dalvin to stay healthy. So I think that's a good pick there. So let's look at the draft board here. How do you do this? God damn it. I need Jason. I haven't used this before, so bear with me. Get the draft board. Come on, figure it out, Steven. Cheat sheets? I think that's it. All right, we're on. So, with the 7th pick here, this is interesting because, like I said, I want to go running back here. Usually I would think you go Kamara here, but Kamara, potato, patata. He with his off-field issues, he's going to play the first several games, and then when his court hearing is at the end of September, it's going to be interesting to see what happens if they're going to suspend him or if it's something that's going to be pushed to next season. So here I'm just kind of looking between Najee Harris, who's a good PPR running back. He's going to get a lot of touches this year. I don't know like what to make of the Steelers this year. It's just kind of like a new beginning for them without Big Ben. And it seems like Trubisky is going to get the nod to be their starter, and he's, needs to prove himself. It was interesting to seeing how his career just kind of didn't really work out in Chicago, short stint in Buffalo, and now he's with the Steelers. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does, and I obviously would love to see Kenny Pickett get out there. So it's right now it's between Najee, Justin Jefferson, and it's tough. If I was put in this situation, I don't know who to go with, but I don't know if I trust Najee, so I'm gonna go with Justin Jefferson here. I just think you can't go wrong. A lot of people are looking at Jamar Chase, but Justin Jefferson's just a walking bucket. Um, let's go to the draft board, see how this went. So Kamara, wow, the plot pickens. These are some funny names. Um, the plot pickens goes with Kamara. They take a risk there, and then it goes Najee, and then Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams. So okay, Jamar can be crazy. Obviously, had to take Jamar with that name. They go Devontae, so their wide receivers are going to be stacked. They go two running backs here, Kamara and Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews going in the second round is crazy. I think he's going to have a great year. If Lamar Jackson can turn it around. So I go Justin Jefferson here. And it looks like they want me to take Kelsey, which isn't bad, but then I'm in trouble at the running back position if I don't take a running back right here. So I want to look at the best possible running back that I could get. I don't even know how this is laid out. We do our mock drafts and our drafts on ESPN, and it just makes so much more sense to me. This is kind of confusing, but DeAndre Swift. See, I don't want him as my RB1. Saquon, you want to have a lot of faith in him, but just with his injury history, I just don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of completely going against what I said to start this draft off, but I just think you have to stick with guys who you know are going to produce for you. So I'm going to take a chance here. I'm just going to take Kelsey because I don't think you can go wrong. People are kind of a little bit down on Kelsey. That's why I think Mark Andrews was ahead of him because Tyreek Hill's not there. More double teams are going to be brought to Kelsey in the middle of the field. But it's Patrick Mahomes, man, and Travis Kelsey. I just don't think you can get a better 1-2 punch than that. So let's see how this next part went. They go Chubb. I was looking at Nick Chubb too. I think he'll have a good year. It's kind of interesting because if I had to make a guess what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson, I say he does not play this season. Based off the fact that it's just not a good look for the league, I think they're just going to have to sit him out this year until everything's resolved. And the Browns aren't going to be good. Deshaun Watson is just that type of player who can make a bad team into a good team. And they have a lot of talent on this team. This team, it's just kind of interesting, all the things they have going on. Kareem Hunt wants out apparently, but they rejected that. Amari Cooper's been looking good in training camp apparently, but without Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper's just not someone I'm touching. So, and depending on if it's Josh Rosen or whoever their quarterback ends up being, Jacoby Brisket, they're just going to hand the ball off to Chubb. So I just don't think you can go wrong with taking Chubb. Diggs goes, Debo, Swift, Jones, CD Lamb Chop, Saquon, Tyreek, Javante, Leonard, Josh, and Patrick back to back. Wow, look at that. I always in past years have taken quarterbacks in the third round. I've taken Patrick Mahomes 2 years in a row. If he's there, I might consider him. These are obviously your top two guys right here, but this year I also might do it a little bit differently, kind of like Jason did with his mock draft. You can just kind of wait on those quarterbacks because there's just so many of them, and people just kind of prioritize filling in those running back and wide receiver positions, the meat of the lineup. So I have two receivers here already. So I'm kind of looking to stack those up, but by now I really need a running back. So let's just kind of see who's available. Zeke, since I need a running back, might be the guy I have to go with just because he's probably not going to be there for my next pick. If not, I'd probably look at taking A.J. Brown, Michael Pittman, or Mike Evans. So let's just go with that because we need a running back. Zeke's tough because he's just kind of getting older, fighting through injuries. The Cowboys, even though they're favored to win the NFC East this year, I just don't have a whole lot of faith in them. Losing Amari Cooper was big for them. It's going to be interesting to see how CeeDee Lamb does, filling into that wide receiver one role. Obviously, I'm an Eagles fan, so I hate the Cowboys, but we're just going to have to wait and see how they do. So Michael Pittman goes right after A.J. Brown. So right here, I go wide receiver, tight end, running back. So I'm looking for a wide receiver or a running back here with my 4th round pick. The best next quarterback would be either Lamar or Justin Herbert. Kyler would be a good pick too, but that team's just kind of so up in the air right now. So I'm kind of avoiding Kyler this year. We'll have to wait and see. James Conner had a great year last year, but I'm just not big on him. The Bears are going to stink. So I'm looking at this meat right here. And then you also could, like, I could have passed on Kelsey and took somebody else, and then these two guys were still here, which would have been, I would have been fine with either of them, which honestly, looking back at it, Oh boy, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. Don't smoke, kids. Instead of taking Kelsey here, I should have probably taken either Chubb or Debo. Those are the two I was looking at, because Justin Jefferson and Debo would have been filthy. But, you can't go back in time, so I'm going to kind of see how my running backs end up, and I'm looking at DJ Moore. See, I just don't understand how this whole thing's set up. It's wild to me. But these are the wide receivers. Where's the running back tier? Okay, so most likely James Conner would be the next pick. I just think it's too early to take him. So you could go tight end, throw in your flex. But I just think you have to go DJ Moore here. I think it's the right pick. He gives you 1,000 yards every year. So go with DJ Moore. So we got Justin Jefferson and DJ, Travis Kelce. And so far, looking at my team, you're hoping he gives you 20 points a week. You're hoping he can get you 20 points a week. Zeke, that's the one I was iffy about, but which is why I like running back so early. So I don't know what pick I'm going to end up having in our league. We always do. We find out the day of the draft. The past year we do cameos, which is pretty funny. Try to find somebody funny on there that isn't too expensive to pick out of a hat for us, and then you have like an hour or so once you find out your pick to just kind of mentally prepare for it. So it really depends what pick I have. But, in this situation, I just felt like it was hard to pass on Justin Jefferson. It was either him or Najee. So I think that was just the right pick, all things considered. And DJ Moore, hopefully him and Baker can get on the same page. And if he just keeps feeding him, it's going to be a good year for those two. So after DJ, they go Kittle, Connor, Akers, T. Higgins, Scary Terry, Cortland Sutton. Wow, in the 4th pick. That's interesting to me because, he was out all last year with his injury. I believe it was an ACL. He could have a great year with Russ. He really could. It's just we're just gonna have to wait and see how that works out. Having Jerry Jeudy in there as well. No more Tim Patrick, as I said earlier. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not high on the Broncos this year, but we'll just have to see how that plays out. Deontay Johnson, DK, Mike Williams, Jalen Waddle, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper. Good. I don't want to take Amari, so I'm glad he was taken there. So I have 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a running back. So I'm looking for a running back here. That's my first priority. And then either another wide receiver or a quarterback. So let's see who's available. David Montgomery was good last year, Brees Hall is interesting because I'm just like not big on Jets players. I've never drafted a Jets player before. I think the last time I had a Jets player on my team was, um, oh, what's his name? Their running back. Um, I'm completely blanking on his name. Um, I'm gonna look it up on my phone. It'll come to me. It's I'm thinking Marlon Mack, but he was on the Colts. Um, Past Jets running backs. I feel like everyone knows who I'm referring to. Maybe. Um, he like wouldn't play the whole year, and Bilal Powell. That's who I'm thinking of. Bilal Powell. I'd always have him, and then he would have like sneaky good games where he'd get you 20 points a week. But I just don't. I don't know if I trust Jets players. Brees Hall was great in college. He was the number one pick in dynasty leagues, so maybe he has a lot of upside. David Montgomery is interesting because he has a lot of talent, but the Bears are just so bad, and that's I just try to stick. I try to stick with my gut and stick with who I can rely on. Um, the thing is, I don't. I think I have to take a risk here because it's either Waller or Montgomery, and you need to fill those spots up. So I'm going to go with Montgomery, and hopefully he has a good year and it works out well. Good value pick, they say. Um, so yeah, we went with Montgomery. I wasn't really looking at Clyde, which could be an interesting pick because he hasn't played a full season yet for the Chiefs with his injuries. Um, but he could be a value to them. A lot of checkdowns with Mahomes. Amon-Ra had a good end to the year last year. They ended up going Brees, Herbie, Godwin, Renfro. So I have Jefferson, DJ Moore, and I'm going to go Michael Thomas here. I don't know if the 6th round's too early for that, and I know I still need a quarterback, but the fact that Lamar there is crazy too. Like, it's one or the other. Um, and then you have like all these guys you could wait on. Oof, that's tough. I think I have to go Lamar. I just don't think you can go wrong with him. I think Lamar needs a big year this year. Um, I'm fine with that pick. I like Michael Thomas, but let's see if he's still there or not. So we go Lamar. D Hop. See, that was another guy I had my eyes on, and I'm surprised he went. I kind of surprised he went before Michael Thomas, but he's going to be sitting out the first 6 games, and it's a big bounce back for the second half of your season. Judy, Mooney, Waller. I'm surprised Waller fell to the 6th round here. Dobbins, which will be interesting. Juju, which I don't want to touch. There goes Jalen. So it turned out to be a good pick taking Lamar here. Joey B, Allen Robinson, Dalton Schultz, who could have a big year. Thielen and Lockett. Those are the 2 guys that are going to be your like wide receiver 3 flex plays. For those of you that do 2 wide receiver leagues, probably a flex position for you. So I got my quarterback. I'm not sure how to show my team rosters. There we go. So we got Lamar, Zeke, Montgomery, Jefferson, Moore, Kelsey. Not great, not bad. I'll take it. So here we're looking to fill in our flex or wide receiver. So you can really go anywhere here. It just kind of depends on who you think is the best available. ETN could be a good flex play. I just don't know how I feel about Jags players. Josh Jacobs and all the trade rumors. I need more depth, and I just don't know how I feel about him. Gibson had a bad year last year. Devonta Smith. I'm just going to go Michael Thomas here. He did me dirty last year. I drafted him, and he didn't play, but it could be a huge play for you. If he's there for you in the 6th round, it could be, a lot of upside for you. So Miles Sanders, after a while, he's someone I'm just staying away from. Everyone who I've talked to about Miles Sanders this year, they're just saying stay away from him. I had him last year, and he was a big disappointment. So I was hoping ETN would be there for me next, but he's not. and I do need more depth at the running back position. So it's one of these two guys. Um, AJ Dillon's not a bad backup. Obviously, Kareem Hunt's not a bad backup. Just kind of waiting to see. Rashad Penny had a great end of the year last year. Um, so Devonta Smith could have a good year. I like Drake London. I think Robert Woods could be a steal. Because of his injuries, people are down on him, but he's really the wide receiver one. It's going to be him and the Traylon Burke show. So since I need more depth at the running back position, I'm just going to go. I don't like. I think I think Josh Jacobs is the safer pick here. I think they still have Kenyon Drake, but I think they're just the Raiders are going to put up points this year, and I just don't trust um, the Washington Commanders. So I'm going to go Jacobs here, add some depth. He could possibly be a flex position play. One pick inside available. There are two quarterbacks, Brady and Prescott. So yeah, in our league, as Jason said in his episode, that our league takes like all the quarterbacks through the first 10 rounds. So Brady could be a good backup, especially if Lamar gets hurt or doesn't do well. So um, Lamar, Zeke, David Montgomery, Justin, DJ Moore. It's not a bad team. It's not a lot of things I might have done differently, but it's not bad. Um, Probably looking for another running back or wide receiver here. Um, or you could go with Brady as the backup. Let's just kind of see who's available. Hawkinson could be a good backup. I probably would have never used him. That's the thing. Like these three guys are all even Fryermuth. The four of them are good stashes to have. Just kind of looking for guys who I would play. Christian Kirk got a fat contract, but I just don't love the Jaguars. Um, Kareem Hunt would be a good pick here. It's just I don't know what his deal is going to be. I don't like taking guys where there's like controversy around them wanting to be on a team. Like why would you want to have pick someone who doesn't want to play for their team? Um, Chase Edmonds could be a decent pick. Um, Claypool, I liked Russell Gage a lot, but now that they have Julio, which is going to be interesting to see where he goes in these drafts, I just don't know if I trust him. Damian Harris is the go-to guy um, in the backfield. I don't love him, but I'm looking at him, Damian Harris, Brady, Traylon Burks potentially. Um, let's just go with Damian Harris here, just to add some more depth to the running back position. So I go D Harris. First, another defense is off the board. Christian Kirk, Traylon, Kenneth Walker, Kareem Hunter, Russell Gage, Devin Singletary. So if you want to just fill your roster up, you could take a defense, but I think you can always wait on that. And I look to take guys who you could really use in your lineup week in and week out. Um, I don't think Hawkinson will still be there. He's a good backup to have, but it's like I have Kelsey, um, so there's that. Kadarius Toney, I just think he has too many issues. Claypool could be a decent stash. Just don't know if I trust him. Jarvis could be a decent stash. I had Kenny Galladay last year and he sucked for me, so I'm not touching him. I like Julio. I don't know if he's like someone who's gonna. I think he's just kind of. He's not the same Julio anymore. That's what they wanted him to be in Tennessee, and he just wasn't that guy. So I would just kind of wait on Julio, and if he's there in the later rounds, obviously take him as a stash. But right now, with my 10th pick, I want to take someone who I know I could utilize in my team. Um, so I'm probably looking at Claypool potentially, Garrett Wilson maybe. Um, could take a chance on him. Take a chance. Take a chance. Take a chance on him. Um, T.J. Hawkinson, Rashad Penny. This is tough. This is tough. These later rounds get tough because you really have to focus and decide what could be the best outcome for your team. I never really used two tight ends. Um, I could add another running back there, which since I don't feel strong about my running backs, I don't think it's a bad move here taking either Chase Edmonds or Rashad Penny. I don't like the Seahawks, but Rashad and then they have Kenneth Walker too, so that's the problem. Um, and I didn't love Chase Edmonds last year. That's why I'm really stuck here. So I just got to stick with what I think is the best, my gut feeling, and I just think you can't go wrong with Hawkinson. Don't know if that was the right move or not, but like I said, it's all about sticking with your gut. So let's see what they ended up doing. Um, they go Claypool, obviously, Olave, Pollard, Penny, Edmonds, Boyd, Kadarius Gordon, Ramondre, James Robinson, and DJ Chark, who is coming back from his season-ending ACL injury last year. So now you could really go quarterback and snag Brady, because why not? Oh, and even Rodgers, like he's an interesting situation because it's still Aaron Rodgers, so it's a good backup to have just to have the name. Um, but I think Brady's probably that better move there. So I'm either taking Brady or one of these guys. And like I said, I have Lamar, so I'm probably not going to use Brady. So I think I can wait one more round. Um, probably taking a receiver here. So I am going to take a chance here and I'm probably just going to go Garrett Wilson. It's definitely a risk. Like I said, I don't like taking Jets players, but I think there could be some upside with him and Zach Wilson. All right. Brady's still there, so rather than waiting, I'm just going to take him. Tommy Bahama. And let's see how those past two rounds went. So, took Garrett Wilson. They go MVS, Michael Carter, James Cook, Dalvin's brother, Isaiah Spiller. Interesting pick. Goddard, Darrell Henderson, who's honestly it's not a bad pick. And then I go Brady, Madison, who's a good bench stash, as I said before. Sky Moore, who could be big with Mahomes. Ertz, good pick. Stafford, sticky staff. Gallup, who's injured. Ronald Jones, I don't know about that one. Cole Kmet, Dawson Knox, not a bad pick. Jacoby Myers, Rodgers, Gasecki, Van Jefferson. So I pretty much have everything here. I have four more picks. So if if nobody really like draws my eye here, I'm probably gonna go defense or kicker. I already have two tight ends, so I don't need Fryermuth. Um, Devontae Parker is always one of those late round guys I snag. Galladay still being there, like he's a good bench guy, but he was just so disappointing to me. So I think I might go defense here. The Bucks had a pretty good defense. The 49ers, Rams. Let's go with the Rams. Super Bowl champs. And honestly, since I have 3 picks left, I'm either going kicker or I'm probably looking to take Julio just because why not? Um, so they go Trey Lance, Dallas, Tampa, Christian Watson, Rashad White, Devontae Parker. Kenny Galladay still there, man. How about them apples? Let's take Julio because why not? Probably take a kicker next. Usually kickers and defenses start getting taken in the 8th, 9th, and 10th rounds in the league I'm in. Evan McPherson, Tyler Bass. I like Tyler Bass a lot, but those Buffalo conditions can be tricky. So let's go with Evan McPherson here. He was great last year. Fill that roster up, and we have one more pick left. So you can really just go anywhere here. These are kind of like the garbage picks. See, no one here really of any substance. Greg the leg on the Jets. How about that? So it's just kind of, you can really just take anyone here. Kenny Galladay still being there. I'll give him another chance. He probably won't be there in my league this late, but why not? And then there goes the draft. So this is what I had. Lamar could be a risky pick, but I had to wait on that quarterback, especially with the top 2 and Mahomes and Josh Allen being taken. So Lamar and his legs with what he's able to do, I think it's a fine pick. Don't love my running backs. I don't. But if Zeke can have a decent year and Montgomery is probably their offense for the Bears and Justin Fields getting that to work, it could be, a decent duo, but I just don't have a whole lot of confidence in my running back. So if this is your team, this is the meat of your lineup right here, is relying on JJ to do some grittying for you, DJ Moore to have a good connection with Baker, Michael Thomas to have a bounce back year, and hopefully nothing's changed for him. Travis Kelce to be Travis Kelce, and then your flex position for me, at least, it's either Josh Jacobs or Damian Harris. And then sometimes you just have a guy on your bench or you have someone that you pick up off waivers who just kind of does really well, and you can use them. They gave me a C plus, kind of the story of my life when it came to school. Um, but it's not great, but it's still a decent squad. You could have some big weeks. It's just tough being put in the 7th position. I like to look at some of the other teams because this is something Jason and I were talking about. Is if you have a top 3 pick, you should have a good team and you should have the best chance at winning. And I kind of want to check this team out, but looking at the first team, they go JT, which is a great pick, and then they go CD, which is interesting because in that wide receiver 1 role, he just has big shoes to fill, and he has a lot on his shoulders. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to be able to get him the ball in a lot of double coverage situations. They go Saquon, which could be hit or miss here. JT and Saquon could be huge. It's just a matter of what he's able to do on that Giants team and if he can stay healthy. I didn't love this Courtland Sutton pick. Deontay Johnson, really not a bad pick here. His wide receivers aren't great. Honestly, he's got a lot of depth, though, so I will give this team that. Crowder, pleaser. He is a pleaser. Did he take Jamison Crowder? I think you have to. Nope, he didn't. That's a shame. It's a sin. But CD, Sutton, who could, have a big year, and Deontay Johnson, it's not bad. And then your flex between Juju, Robert Woods, Drake London, who really is, other than Pitts, the only other guy that Marcus Mariota is going to throw the ball to. So that's big for them. Tyler Boyd, who could have a sneaky good year. So I don't love this team, but don't hate it. This is probably the best team right here, the second team, with McCaffrey, Aaron Jones. The fact that Tyreek Hill was still there in the 3rd round is not possible, but Scary Terry could have a big year. DK, Dobbins, Burrow, Smith. I mean, this team is loaded. Probably not going to happen with some other teams. This team decided to go 3 running backs in a row. which these guys could all be good PPR guys. I just don't love the names. Like, I don't love the teams that they're on either. Other than Eckler, I just don't. I'm probably staying away from these two guys, but they could be, big assets to their teams. Um, Cooper Kupp and Debo is huge. Leonard Fournette is interesting because he's been going in the top 3 in this draft, and I just don't know how I feel about that because he did have a great year last year, but he is getting older, and I just don't know if I trust him to be my RB1. Cam Akers coming in off his injury last year, which was unreal how he just bounced back and won a Super Bowl after tearing his Achilles. Jalen Waddle. So, not a whole lot of depth on this team, but not a bad lineup. Looking at some other teams that just kind of catch my eye. These first 4 picks are very good. Really, the first 6 picks are good. This team's sexy right here. And then this team has a lot of question marks because you don't know what's going to happen with Kamara. Mark Andrews, does he deserve to be the tight end 1 in fantasy? We're going to have to find out. Michael Pittman, I think, is a great pick here. It's just a shame that you couldn't wait till the 4th round to get him. Marquise Brown, oof, I don't know about that pick or not. He's going to have to step up with Hopkins out, but we'll just have to see. This team isn't bad, but this team caught my eye just going Jamar, Devontae, A.J. Brown. I mean, that's the best 3 wide receiver core out of this whole draft. Kyle Pitts could have a big bounce back year. Breece Hall was the question mark. He's their wide receiver 1, so this person doesn't have good running backs, but for PPR, these 2 guys could be sneaky and just their teams could be really shit this year, but they could have good fantasy games. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. So yeah, that was my mock draft. They're a lot of fun, just getting practice in, and as you can see, your team's going to be better if you do 10-team leagues, which is why I've always preferred that. A lot of people like doing 12-team leagues, getting more friends in there, which is always fun, but your team's obviously not going to be as good, so I've always, studied 10-team leagues. My draft's coming up next weekend, so I have to start mentally preparing for that. They're just so much fun to do. It's fun to get rowdy with your friends, get everyone together. It's just a great way to stay in touch with people. And football season's upon us. The Eagles have their first preseason game this Friday at home against the Jets. Preseason obviously doesn't mean anything, but it's just kind of fun to watch football. Keep your eye out for some of the young rookies and what they're able to do. So yeah, always feel free to message us on social media just to say hi, give us any feedback on the show. If you want to talk fantasy, always down to chat it up. Make sure to like and subscribe on our show, please. And if my ass can get up next time before the rooster clucks, then Jay and I will have an episode for you. This is JumpStart Sports. Thank you. Yeah.